If you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All public comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words or actions, and comments should be limited to the issue, cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the Terrebonne Parish Council meeting Wednesday, January 11th to order, and ask Mr. Dirk Guidry if you could lead us in a prayer followed by a pledge.
Thank you. Dear Lord, show us how to use rules wisely, and when work is hard, may it be a blessing from you. Let us pray for our elected officials because they often hold the keys to important changes for our community and the laws that govern it. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Becknell, roll call.
Mr. Tillman. Here. Mr. Harding.
Here.
Mr. Michaud.
Here.
Mr. Amity.
Here.
Ms. Domingue.
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry.
Here.
Mr. Babin.
Here.
Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Here.
Mr. Trosclair.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. First item of business is election of 2023 council chair. Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to nominate Councilwoman Jessica Domingue.
We have a nomination, Ms. Domingue. Mr. Tillman?
I would like to nominate Mr. Carl Harding.
Okay, with Mr. Tillman and Mr. Harding. Any other nominations? Do we have a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
Motion to close, Mr. Gerald Michel, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Roll call vote. Ms. Becknell?
Mr. Tillman. Mr. Harding.
Harding.
Mr. Michaud.
Jessica.
Mr. Amity.
Domingue.
Ms. Domingue.
Domingue.
Mr. Darren Guidry.
Ms. Domingue.
Mr. Babin.
Harding.
Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Ms. Domingue.
Mr. Trosclair. Mr. Chairman, we have 5 votes for Ms. Jessica Domingue and 4 votes for Mr. Carl Harding.
Congratulations, Ms. Domingue. The gavel is yours.
Thank you. Sorry, we got a lot of stuff. Thank you all very much. Approve the minutes of the regular, election of the 2023 council vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Mr. John Amity.
Make a motion to close the nomination.
Motion to nominate Mr. Amity and close by Mr. Babin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Amity. I jumped the gun. All right. All right, moving on. Approve minutes of the regular council session held on December 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dirk, second by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Distribute the minutes of the regular council sessions held on December 21st, 2022 that has been done. Approve accounts payable lists for 12/19/2022, 12/27/2022, 1/3/2023, and 1/9/2023. Moved by Mr. Carl Harding, second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve the manual checklist for November 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Second by Mr. John Amity. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. General business. Item A, presentation by parish administration relative to capital projects, including drainage, utility, roads, and quality of life projects, as well as other matters relative to the operation and maintenance of the parish government. Mr. Dove.
Yes, today I'd like to bring up the architect on the, for about 4 years now, the Tesh Clinic, we've been trying to do an addition over there. As you know, the Terrebonne Parish collects two meals a year for quite some time, and this project, he's going to go ahead and give us the cost and all on it, if you would. Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, if we could get the architect to the mic.
Yes, sir.
And I think he'll explain it a lot better than me. And Craig, thank you for coming. And
thank you for having me.
Glad to see it finally getting close to getting off the ground.
Yes, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
To you that don't know me, my name is Craig Hebert. My address is 105 Linwood Drive in Houma, Louisiana. I've been a resident for 30 years here in Terrebonne Parish. And I'm about to start my 16th year as a small business owner here with my practice. I'm proud to introduce you to a lot of labor and a lot of hard work by a lot of people to get to this point for the new health unit. Before I get started and start to show some of the pictorial drawings that we have, I want you to understand that we've had a couple of different administration components that we've dealt with, particularly with the Office of Public Health and some people with Tesh. The gentleman I work with the most with the Office of Public Health, Dr. Riggins, was very integral in where we are with the current building design, in addition to Mr. Dove's dedication to building something that was going to set Terrebonne Parish apart. What makes this facility very unique, based on the information given to us by the Department of Health, is that for the first time the state of Louisiana is using not only public health but private health to conjoin together to build a new health platform that they're hoping to spread throughout the state. This facility will be one of a kind in the state and a model, hopefully, for the future of public health. So I'm very proud of it. It's a labor of love for the last few years, and it's very exciting that it's finally starting to move. We're looking at roughly a 22,000 square foot facility that will be built adjacent to the existing test facility.
Can we get him one?
Thank you.
What we have here is, this is the existing test facility located on Tunnel Boulevard. It's a very tight site. We have a lot of square footage that we're putting into this. The new facility is going to be conjoined to the existing building in two different locations. The new facility is going to represent about 22,000 square foot of space. That space includes components for TESH, components for OPH, our Office of Public Health, as well as shared space to conserve square footage and efficiency and cost for both agencies to be able to use and share administrative space. In addition, we'll have a second story component that will allow us to have the Office of Public Health and Sanitation on the second floor with labs, equipment space, as well as public space to be able to meet. It'll also serve as a makeshift command center in the event of a health event, such as COVID, for example, where the physicians and the local hospitals, the state can work as in conjunction with one another as they're going through whatever that situation is. So there were three things that were very important, I know, to President Dove as well as to Mr. Riggins with OPH. One was they wanted something vertical that distinguished what the facility was, and also something that would be open to having people use physical exercise instead of just getting on an elevator. So the key component that separates the two buildings is this center tower here that's aligned with the front side of the existing TESH. It's a pretty massive tower. We'll have a wraparound stair that's going to go all the way around it. It's vocal. I mean, it's very visible from the street. It's a component where they have discussed possibly hanging banners to acknowledge to the public. They don't want this to be seen as just public health. They want this to be inviting, and they wanted people to be welcoming and wanting to get involved in this facility. The component that is TESH is immediately adjacent to the TESH facility. So we'll have a common corridor that's going to link the two. We'll have some exam spaces for pediatrics, WIC, first-time mothers, behavioral health, as well as the center core serving as shared common space and administrative offices. And this side of the building will be dedicated to OPH. Their operations with this joint effort with TESH has allowed them to reduce the size of their footprint and at the same time offer more services as public health is constantly changing. And again, like I said earlier, basically the rear portion of the building on the second floor will be dedicated to the Department of Sanitation and Health, while we will have meeting space and breakout space for classroom education and different activities that OPH is trying to promote into the community. Just to give you an idea, I'll show you what the exterior elevations of it are starting to look like. And I'm about 99% complete with the elevations and the design of it. But as you can see, we were saying, we have this large vertical element here. When you're dealing with two buildings, one existing, one new, it's very hard to marry these kinds of buildings. So we didn't want something that was going to significantly oppose what the TESH facility looked like, at the same time, bring them together. So we've got this common central element with the wraparound stair and our new two-story facility. This will be the view coming towards tunnel as you're going towards the tunnel, I'm sorry. And in composition with everything that we're doing, this is what we're envisioning the final product is going to look like. We've gotten a lot of good compliments so far from OPH on the design as well as how it merges well with the existing TESH facility. We're going to use the same materials, concrete block, brick veneer, standing seam roof. The colors will be very similar to one another. But I think the new component, which will be public health, the Terrebonne Parish component of it, really represents well what we're trying to accomplish here and putting public health ahead of everything.
Make sure you explain that this is going to replace the whole building behind St. John Polk.
Will this aggravate this if I just lay it down?
You need this.
So what we're looking at right now is a facility that we anticipate final construction costs to range about $6.5 million. This facility will replace in total the existing health unit. I'm not quite sure what the parish's plans are for that building. I know there's some issues there, which is why we're relocating to this position. But with everything, the way things are, materials starting to get a little bit more readily available than they have been in the last year or so. If everything goes well, we're anticipating hopefully breaking ground towards the end of the summer.
Thank you for that presentation. We look forward to seeing it. We have a couple questions. Mr. Dove?
Well, and Craig, I want to thank you and your staff. I know it's been a long road, and having to deal with the different agencies, with the state, and it's really gonna be a good-looking building. And thank you for your time and effort. And
It's my pleasure, sir.
and you told them the location.
Yes, sir. It's
It's right on Tunnel Boulevard.
on Tunnel Boulevard, basically across from the Council on Aging. We're merging it with the existing test facility.
Right past Best Bakery, or there's
sir.
another deal, and Griffin's Restaurant across the street. So, look, thank y'all, and I know we dealt a long time with this, a few years, and it's good to see it. And of course, it's paid for by the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish with a two mil tax that raised the money. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been very educational on my behalf. I assure you that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
We do have a few more questions. Mr. Tillman?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Thank you, sir. Very, very good dissertation. Listen, I'm interested in that OEP component of it. Now, that's going to be used as a command center as well, correct? I think that's what I heard you saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is the hurricane rating?
Let me clarify that. It is not going to be designed to serve as a first response center. While I will inform you of this, immediately after the last hurricane, we were instructed by President Dove to enhance the design capacity of it in order to ensure that when first responders do come back into Terrebonne Parish, that they have access to this facility, especially the Department of Public Health, which was critical in getting all our water and everything back online after the last storm. This will serve as a place once the event has happened. It's the code requirements on it, based on ASCE 716, which is the new code that's going to be adopted by the state, is for a 161 Category 3 risk, Category 3 storm. This is going to be designed at 180 miles an hour. We will have replicating roof systems, so in the event that we do have roof damage, very similar to what we just completed at Terrebonne General, if the primary or the exposed roof system does experience some damage, the intent with this is that the secondary roof system will protect the structure from flooding or any other internal damage caused by water. In addition to that, it's going to be a heavily fortified structural steel component with masonry infill. So it's going to be a strong building, but it won't be a first response facility. I don't want that to be confused.
Okay. With the design, do we have electrical backup as it relates to the building?
Yes, sir. There will
Okay.
be generator power for both TESH and for this facility.
And I noticed that the plan has a significant amount of open glass. Is there any way that we can maybe put something there, maybe that can be automatically shifted down to cover the massive amount of glass opening that it has on the building?
As of right now, the design is for that to be rated impact glazing.
Okay.
So all of that's going to be designed to 180 miles an hour.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, I appreciate everyone that has something to do with this. It's actually in my district. I actually have services provided for me and relatives through TESH. Mr. Tillman had mentioned the concerns in reference to the hurricane. I know that we just recently, we were going to be in completion of a pump within that area. And that was my concern also, because generally that was a problem that's there. I think we're working on the pump problem. So that, you say you're going to start in about 2 months with everything. When the estimated time of completion would be?
No, what I said earlier was that we're hoping to break ground at the end of summer, around probably end of July, August. You're probably looking at about 10 months to 12 months of construction.
10 months to 12 months of construction. Okay, and that's an area where you have had an increase from last year to this year, because you had about, I was told that it was about 20,000 people that you were actually going through tests, and that's within the local area. Yeah, okay, then I was just putting that information out there in that area. Also have access from the rear of the building also, too, right?
No, sir. Everything with Tesh and everything with this facility is controlled ingress to the front of the facility for security purposes.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm saying to get to the Tesh in that area right there, you can come off Hobson Street to the back.
You could actually, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay,
Yes,
right.
sir.
So
I
it's,
stand corrected.
I'm just putting it out there to the people that this facility is going to be in the area, and really in close proximity to those folk that actually need services from Tesh. And so we're creating an opportunity, perhaps after the groundbreaking service, or whenever we wanted groundbreaking, within 10 months after that, we would have a facility. So we are announcing that Tesh is coming to the area.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
And to answer your question, just to let you know, knowing that that is a historically flood area, one of the directives we received from President Dove was that we were going to build an elevation of 8 feet. So it's actually going to be kind of interesting because we'll actually be 4 inches taller than Tesh. Okay. And under the worst conditions we've had in the last 15 years, they have not had any flooding issues.
Mr. Dirk Gidry.
Yeah, thank you all for what y'all doing. I mean, that's going to be a great access to the parish. One question, are they going to increase any kind of mental health capacities for people with mental health problems in this building? Will it increase? Because I know mental health's a big problem in the parish, not only in the parish, but all over the United States. Would there be more physicians for mental health in this, or more places that we can help them?
Unfortunately, Mr. Gidry, I'm probably the worst person to ask that question of. I don't know the answer to that, and I would probably defer that to both OPH or actually probably Tesh better.
Yeah, because that's one of our major problems that we have, and it look like, you know, we're building a beautiful building like this, that we'd increase place for people with mental health problems.
I do know that they currently have space within their existing facility for that. I know that we are adding space. I'm not quite certain about their intentions, but I do know that we have added space in the new facility for that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Duff.
And just to add on to that, and Dirk, I'll get that information for you. I believe it does, but I don't want to stipulate it does. And I want to make sure the public understands that we are mandated by state statute to build what we're building here. So this is, you know, we have to build it. And that's why years ago the $2 million was put forth and collected over the years to raise about $6.5 million. And what's the facility? What we at now, about 5.7?
Thereabouts, sir.
About $5.7 million. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
We have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harding.
Mr. Dove, I know Ms. Henry is out there, and the question that Mr. Gidry had asked, I think Ms. Henry may have a little more information in reference to the mental health aspects of it, if you don't mind, sir.
I have no objections to
Ms.
that.
Henry?
Ms. Henry?
Good evening. My
If
name
you
is
don't
Sheena
mind, yeah.
Henry,
Thank you.
and I'm the Director of Nursing at Tesh currently for the Tesh Action Clinic. Currently, we do provide behavior health in all of our clinics, and the plan is once the building is complete, we are going to increase providers for behavior health and also for internal medicine, family practice as well. So I'm excited to see the building and looking forward to see what we can do, because we're seeing, last year we saw 20,000 patients plus, and that's approximately 18 to 2,000 patients a month. And since the new year, we've been packed every day. So this is going to allow us to be able to provide more services for patients that do not have insurance or can't afford to pay. So we're looking forward for the collaboration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Henry, and I'm actually a mental health provider at a community health organization as well, and I can attest to the fact that we do have a lack of resources, and the wait
Yes.
lists are just unbelievable.
Oh, yes, it
And so
is.
you guys doing this is going to be wonderful. We
Yes.
talk a lot about quality of life, and access to health care is quality of life, and so this is so important for our community. So thank you, everyone who's involved in this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'll move everything out of your way.
All right, wonderful, thanks. Item B, Mr. Michel, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we're still on item A. Can somebody give us an update of what's going on with streetlights? On Douglas Drive, there's one entire block that doesn't have streetlights. On Funderburg, there's half the street that doesn't have streetlights. Southern Estates, I got a call this afternoon that they've been waiting on streetlights, and now it's going on a year and a half, and I want to know what's the status on that, please?
Ms. Malden?
We have awarded the contracts to the companies for non-decorative and decorative streetlights. We have also done a second assessment of the parish to make sure that we have all of the lights documented that need to be repaired. So all of that should start. There's going to be some lead time for the inventory for the poles and the lights and all that, but we are going to start seeing some things move forward with it.
Okay, and you spoke of non-decorative and decorative streetlights. There was some confusion on that.
Yes, sir.
Is this with the correct
We
definition?
have, yes, sir. So we met with Entergy, and we have made sure that we all know who's responsible for what and who's going to take care of what. So it all should be taken care of.
Thank you.
Mr. Babin?
Yes, since we're talking about things like this, I've been asked a number of times about the generating station on Barra Street. How many times we've run the generators that are there right now? Have we had any brownouts that it had to be run? Just general information about what's sitting there.
So we are still in the process of getting all of that tested. We run it weekly just to make sure that things keep happening. As far as have we needed to run, I'm not aware of any, but we would have to ask Mr. Brown, or Mr. Dove may know that as well.
I know they were completing the SCADA, and Ernie Brown would probably contest to that better than me. But no, we have not had any brownouts to date. We came close one time, but we didn't need to. And but they have been test running them, and we're pretty close to. If they're not finished SCADA, if they're not already finished, I know they're close to finishing SCADA and in the telemetry portion of it.
Because it seemed like when we first voted on this, it was supposed to be operational by December 1st. Was that the? It was okay. Something was December 1st when we were voting on it. I just didn't know, but I have been having a lot of questions about that. People were worried about the brownouts, and if we haven't had any, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Mr. Tillman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Malden, you mentioned that Energy is out assessing the lights that are out. So what process are we using to assess those lights? Because I know there's a numerous amount of lights that's out since Ida.
So it's not Entergy out assessing. We actually have, with our consulting firm, Royal, they have a team that has gone out. We also had YKH Consulting that goes out and takes pictures and documents everything because of the FEMA reimbursement. So that's what's happening. It's all the parish lights, street lights, decorative, non-decorative. So they've done that. They started that, completed it, and then when we had all of the confusion with who's responsible for what, they've gone back out and done it again, just to make sure that we do have everything.
So that's the parish assessing the parish portion of the lights?
That's assessing all of them.
All light, okay. So what role is Energy and Sleeker playing into this? So I'm asking that question because of this. There are so many lights that's out, okay? I as a council member, has to actually ride out at night and tag lights. And it has to be a better way. It's no doubt about that. Do we pay a set amount per month, or what's that amount we pay to those vendors?
So we do pay it's per pole, per type of pole for the road lighting districts. So for those road lights, But as far as how Entergy and all of that's going to be, repaired, we're going to have to ask them to come back out and explain what they're doing, because that's not part of, what we're responsible for and what we will be reimbursed for.
Yeah, we really need to do that, because with the number of lights that we have out, and I'm gonna assume that if a light is out or if a light is on, I'm assuming that we pay the same thing, on or off.
So we have gotten credits on the road lighting districts for, I think it was like 4 or 5 months right after the storm. We didn't, they repaid us everything that was paid. So as far as now, I can't really answer that question. We would have to ask them.
Okay, if you don't mind, can we try to maybe get Energy and other vendors back up here? Because there has to be a better way to figure out when those lights are out, who's gonna go out and assess those lights, rather than the council member going out there every night looking at lights. Gotta be a better way. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Toops, do you have an answer for that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Tillman, I think Energy did do some assessments on their own, probably right before you came into office. We were getting bi-weekly reports. I know Councilman Guidry was getting them also. I think the last one we got was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I know I had forwarded the ones to the council, the ones that I had gotten. I did specifically speak to Ms. Paula Rome, the local rep from Energy, about issuing further credits for all of the lights that are not working. And she said that she would speak to her boss, and she did talk to her immediate boss, and a further credit will be coming for all of the lights that we were being paid for since Hurricane Ida, and after the initial credit was issued. So there will be another credit coming for all of those lights that we have documented. They did also go out at night and do night patrols, and this is particularly important for the down the bayou people, and those lights were identified, and they are still working on them. I can go back in my emails, and if you don't have the reports, I can forward them to you tomorrow. Okay.
Mr. Michel.
Okay, and while we're on that topic, that's not what my light was on for, but while we're on that topic, are they responsible to give us refunds, even if it's our fault, for lack of a better word, that the lights are not working?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Even if it's decorative or non-decorative.
Okay.
If they haven't been working and we can prove to them that they haven't been working since Hurricane Ida,
Then we don't have to buy the power.
they will give us credit.
Okay, good. All right, and regarding the temporary power plants, 2 questions. Have we ever gotten any guarantee on where we're gonna get the money to pay for this?
So FEMA is working with us, and they are allowing us to move forward with it as a reimbursement with them.
Okay, and the second thing is, we were supposed to go, I don't remember, it was 5 months or 7 months, go back to bid. Has that process been started yet?
We are currently working on the RFQ or RFP that would go out for that, and that should be hitting the market soon.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Tillman, give me a minute. All right, Mr. Tillman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question. Is it possible that you can get a list of those lights being out in District 1? I'm interested in having a copy of my list, if you don't mind. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't know if it's broken down by district, Mr. Tillman, because I don't know if Energy has that in their GIS mapping format. But I know they were, as backup, they did have all of the addresses for all of the lights they found out.
Well, the address is for District 1.
Okay. And I'll get that to you. I'll get it to all the council tomorrow.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, I know it's not fair to ask this question because Ernie is not here tonight, but do we have a specific crew in the city of Houma or the parish's energy program to change the lights? Because I mean, I've turned in about 8 of them. just in my neighborhood alone, and they haven't been changed. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here. I want to know if we have an ongoing program to change those lights. Mr. Dove seems to have an answer.
Yes, we are changing lights. We're getting reports, and we are sending them out, and Ernie is changing lights. And they've got a crew that's just doing that, especially in some dark areas and where there's a bunch of lights out. So in the city of Houma.
Yeah,
I can't speak for Entergy and Sleeker, but yes, we are doing that.
Yeah, no, I understand the other ones have it, but in the city, we do have evidently a rolling plan to handle them. Is
Definitely.
What you're saying. Okay, that's fine, because that's the questions I think we're all getting asked, no matter whether it's the city of Houma or Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, Sleeker, or Entergy. It seems that street lights are the biggest problem we have a lot of problems, but that's the one that people talk about the most because it's so obvious. And Alvin is right. I mean, I go out at nighttime and try to write these addresses down, but it's not as easy at nighttime. But someone who is used to looking for it. I know Sleeka had mentioned to me that what they were doing was on a Friday. A guy was not going to work on a Thursday or not going to work on a Friday, and they did it on Thursday nights to try to get some numbers. So again, it's a big problem throughout the parish. We're a year and a half out, and there's still a lot of lights out throughout the parish. So thank you very much.
Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Candace, if my memory serves me correct, and I may be wrong, but didn't Energy commit to doing quarterly or 6 month, biannually inspections during one of their last meetings over here?
I remember that, Mr. Trosclair, and I remember that before pre-storm, that they were supposed to start patrolling.
But they reinforced it after the storm when we had them back up here.
And they were supposed to bring some additional.
Correct. Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that's what I thought is
Yes,
actually
sir.
happening. Thank you.
Mr. Dirk Gidry.
Yes, Steve, to answer your question, I talked to Paula Rome, and she told me that they would do it every 6 months, go around and check for street lights. So, I mean, it's kind of hard for a councilman to go through the marshes and the ditches and all and mark telephone poles down, because that's been one of my biggest pet peeves since all this started with the hurricane. So, but yeah, every 6 months they're supposed to go out and check the lights.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Toops, especially since Mr. Tillman is new to the council and he hadn't been privy to some of the conversations that we had previously, possibly we could get Energy back here in the next council meeting to do another presentation for us and see where they are.
I can call Ms. Rome and ask her if she would be willing to come to the next meeting, definitely.
Mr. Brown as well, please.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Babin.
Yeah, when they come, which I think is a great idea, at the next meeting, have them give us from the last time they came up here and said that they had X number of lights out, and tell us what they have fixed and what we have out right now. Not just to come up here and, excuse my language, but give us lip service on we're going to fix the lights, okay? Give us a number that you fixed so far, be it city, parish, Sleeka, Entergy, whatever.
Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's my understanding, I'm hearing a lot of questions about is Energy fixing their lights. It's my understanding that Energy and Sleeker are fixing the lights and according to those that aren't damaged. The ones that were damaged by the storm are going to be fixed by the contractor that we approved, EP Bro. So if they're damaged, we don't need to rattle Energy's cage for that. That contract's going to be coming out if y'all haven't signed it already. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Duff.
Dominique, thanks for bringing that up. That's a good point. And Mr. Babin, they don't give lip service. That's not fair to them guys. Those guys work hard out there. They get constant contact with me. They do not give lip service. Thank you.
Mr. Babin.
Well, I happen to think that we got a lot of lip service here from people from Entergy and anyone else that you want to claim to.
That's not what you said.
Yes, I did say that. I said no matter whether it was Entergy, I was naming all of them, Mr. Dove, because we have 3 here.
All right.
Mr. Dove, you're out of order, okay?
All right, we're moving on.
You're not a council person.
You're not gonna give
Right,
me out of
moving
order.
on.
Who the hell you think you are?
All right, moving on, moving on.
Put me out
Can we
of
move
order.
on to 6:30, public hearing? All right, moving on. Item B, a resolution authorizing the parish president to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office to provide police presence during Mardi Gras parades. It moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry, second by Mr. Michel. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C, a resolution authorizing the parish president to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office for the use of the Sheriff's Work Release Program for litter cleanup. Moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry, second by Mr. Harding. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 2, staff reports. Item E, pursuant to Section 2-73 and 2-98 of the Parish Code, Parish President Gordon E. Dove requests acceptance of his recommendation of Mr. Julius P. Hebert as Parish Attorney and of Mr. Brian Marceau, Mr. Derek Barrago, Bursagi, Miss Brianna Wilson or Ogeron, Mr. Patrick Yancey, Miss Courtney Aycock, Mr. Vincent DeGate, Mr. Kentley Fairchild, Mr. Chris Ernie, and Mr. Gary Williams, Mr. Craig Landry, Mr. Tanner McGee, and Miss Michelle Neal as Assistant Parish Attorneys. Motion to hold for 2 weeks by Mr. Dirk Guidry, second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Do we go into 6:30 public hearing? No. All right. We're going to go into public wishes to address the council as per speaker cards in accordance with Section 207 of the Terrebonne Parish Home Rule Charter. The public will be heard and can speak for 3 minutes on any matter related to parish government without discussion or questions, answers, and non-agenda items. So we have 3 speaker cards. The first is Mr. Michael Reynard.
Hi, my name's Michael Reno, and I live on Country Drive. And I'm here to talk to you about no mufflers and modified mufflers. Country Drive is like a racetrack. And as you know, I've talked to a few of y'all before this, the modified mufflers and no mufflers are a big problem in Terrebonne Parish. And you're my last resort because I've called everybody in the book about modified mufflers and also oversized tires. Tires are not supposed to stick out past the fender well. 1 inch is your limit. None of this is getting addressed by the inspection stations as I see it because I've watched. I talked to the sheriff, and the best that we can come up with is, so if you get a ticket for a modified muffler, you can go pay your fine, but you can still drive with the modified muffler. Same thing as the tires. You can get a ticket for a modified tire over the, and they throw rocks. You can go pay your ticket, and you can still ride around with your tires. So when you get tint, a ticket for tint, you have to show someone that you got this issue corrected. We should have that same ordinance for modified mufflers and oversized tires. I've talked to the state police, I've talked to the sheriff's office, and we need more teeth in this because it's a racetrack on Country Drive, and if you go out on Martin Luther King, you could hear them, modified trucks. And then last but not least is the deleting of the DEF system, deleting of a diesel truck, where they take the computer and they delete the computer for the additive that they put in their diesel trucks, and they spit black smoke, and they're also not getting checked by the inspection stations. The inspection stations, I've just did 2 of them. They're supposed to open your hood, and they're supposed to look underneath your car. They're not doing that. So I'm here to ask for your help on this and a few other issues related to this, that we need more teeth with this, because everybody here has the same problem. The sheriff has problems because he has the same noise at his house. Mr. Fessy has it by his house. Everybody here is affected by people that either don't want to put a muffler on or have modified mufflers. They have the tires. It's $2,000, $8,000 for a set of these tires that these guys are riding in. They're sticking out a foot past their fender well. And the reason why I'm here is because my glass got broken out, and when it shattered, I could not see. I had to literally pull over, get a tool out of the back of my truck, and make a hole so that I can make it home. So this is a safety issue. And
Sorry.
you know, that's about the best I can tell you. I'm not a public speaker, but I'm here to see what we can do about this. And if you want, you can call and talk to me at any time. You know, this is a very important issue to me, and I'm sure I've talked to a lot of people around the parish, and it's important to them. Even the secretary for Mr. Tim Saunier, she has the same issue also. So
Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention, and we could definitely maybe get with legal on later on and see if there's something that we can do about this. So thank you
yes,
so
I would
much.
greatly appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have 2 lights. Mr. Michel?
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming, and I just want to point out that we're not really allowed to talk about these issues because they weren't on the agenda in advance. But we're going to look into them further because you bring up some good points.
Thank you. Mr. Dirk?
Jules, question for you. Since that's a state official inspection station, shouldn't that be something to do with the state instead of the parish?
Yes, Councilman Guidry, some of these are state laws that regulate motor vehicles. We do have a right to pass ordinances. I got a call from Steve Trosclair, who expressed his concerns about it, and it would take a little research project to see what we can do. We need to add, if somebody from the council requests that I do it and look into it, I'll do it.
Well, I'd request that you look into it because I know these inspection stickers, there's a state that takes care of these inspection stickers and gives them licenses. So it would have to be them to get them to start enforcing these.
From the inspection standpoint, I think we'd have to notify the state with regards to whether or not we create ordinances.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, but this is
No,
not.
I'm just asking him a question. I'm not
We're
gonna
not
talk to the
discussing
gentleman,
this.
no.
He's discussing what they want me to do legally. I'm explaining to him. Since he's requesting it, is that's one issue. The other issue would be to research and find out exactly what we can pass if we want to attempt to create some type of ordinance to enforce it. Because the motor vehicle laws do allow us to adopt ordinances for certain things.
Could you look into that for me,
Yes,
Mr.
I
Jules?
can.
Thank you. And Mr. Reynard, we
10
can't
seconds.
discuss this any further. We've already discussed this
10
for
seconds.
enough.
But we
You can
do have
possibly
codes
okay, and
for-
you can
we-
possibly talk to Mr. Jules on the side. So
Thank
thank you very much. Number 2, Mr. Johnny Smith.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Johnny Smith, American Veterans Advocacy, Vets United. We're creating a new organization called VDC, Veterans Disaster Corps. What I'm asking is that I get the support from the council. We've already put a board together. I have 2 executive members here, Mr. Gus Marie and Mr. Michael Sears. Those are just 2 of our members. We have a 7-man board. What our Corps is going to do, Hurricane Ida has not been totally repaired yet. So what we've come up with is to put a disaster corps together, just as the military has squads, platoons, companies. We're putting together a battalion of men to work the Gulf Coast. That's what VDC is, a disaster corps relief program. Right now, we're getting our article of incorporation from the state, and the state is going to give us that incorporation to be profitable. So what we'll do is go to Homeland Security. Homeland Security is going to help us to get our SAMS number and whatever identification we need to become a first responding team of veterans to do this work. This would help us to recover from these disasters or whatever we need to do in our Bayou region. I'm hoping to futuristically work from Texas all the way to Florida with enough men to come out in these disasters to help recovery faster. So we've set up different departments in our organization that would take from cleaning up to rebuilding. Mr. Marie and Mr. Michaels here are heavy equipment operators and contractors. So within the organization, as we go along, hopefully by the time of hurricane season, we be fully developed. And I will be back to reintroduce this to you, how far we've come. The second thing I want to say is that for our month of May, you've given me a proclamation on the whole entire month of May to be Veterans Month. In that process, what we're going to do this year, we want to have every weekend, we want to have a veterans event at the park. That is in response to one of our veterans that we lost. He was over the park. We would like to start a banner of our veterans from St. Charles Street all the way down to Polk Street, whereas we be recognizing our veterans in pictures. They do it in Thibodeau, but I see we don't have it here in Terrebonne Parish or Homer. So if we can start working on that to bring that park into a better recognition for our veterans, we would like to, I guess, ask for your support on that, or co-sponsorship. That's what I want to say, co-sponsorship. I'll bring that to you later on at the next meeting. I'll probably have that together.
Thank you, Mr. Johnny. It's always a pleasure to see you here. Mr. Mike Toops?
Mr. Smith, we have 8 banner frames around Courthouse Square, and we have 4 smaller ones on 311 by Polk Street. And we use it for different advertising of events. If you want, I can get Miss Ann Piku to give you a call, and you're welcome to get your banners and put them on the poster frames that we have available for the month of May to advertise your cause.
I appreciate that.
And we could do a co-sponsorship. We did something similar for the Terrebonne Churches United group earlier, and we can do the exact same thing to you, and I think it's a great cause.
I appreciate it. I would like to start with Mr. Harding, Mr. Babin, Mr. Gibbs.
Yeah.
Your pictures are going to
Mr. Michel?
Yeah, 2 things. First of all, and look, there's no better, I'm done, sir. This is just a general comment. There's no better thing to discuss than what this gentleman's bringing up here. But if the rules say we can't discuss it because it's not on the agenda, we can't discuss it. And we need to decide if we're going to follow the rules or if we're not going to care. And I'm okay with not caring as long as we're consistent, okay? But the second thing I want to tell him and the next person who comes up and the last person who came up, if you would like to have an open discussion about it, get with the council clerk about a week ahead of time, get them to put the item specifically on the agenda, what you want to discuss, and we can discuss it. Okay, so please do that, so we're not breaking the rules that that we're supposed to be following. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Did I break a rule?
No.
Okay. Oh, all right.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith.
All right, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Ms. Williams.
Good evening. I'm Darlene Williams. My address is 312 Linda Ann Avenue, Gray, Louisiana, 70359. And I'm here to discuss the demolition program for Terrebonne Parish, which was supposed to be approved by FEMA since Hurricane Ida. And Hurricane Ida, we all know that it's been since August 29, 2021. And we have filled out forms at different locations about the demolition program, but we're not hearing anything else. So I'm trying to find out what's going on with the program. We have 2 mobile homes that needs to be torn down really bad because the weather and the rain that's still coming are just making it worse. So we're waiting to find out. First they say that, well, I had been going over and talked to Aisha, who was hired to run this program and fill out the forms. She's not here anymore. I think she's working in Florida. So she referred me to Mr. Nakin. So I did call over there and speak to Kelly on the 3rd, and she said that they were working on it, but nobody really knows where it's going. So I'm trying to find out what's the next step. I did talk to Chris earlier when I first got here, and he did tell me that there's an engineering company that's going to be taking over and gave me the information. So I think I'm going to call them and get online and get Chris to try to help me. And I did talk to Mr. Hording about it earlier during the week, but I still haven't really found any answers. So I'm trying to find out because we really need that done really bad.
Yes, ma'am, thank you, and I definitely think that Chris is your best asset for that. Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yeah, I can't speak to you, but I'm gonna speak to Chris. Chris, there has been 60-something houses that's been approved for FEMA demolition, right?
I'm not sure of the exact number.
I think it's 60-something.
I know that there are some that have been approved. I know that there are some that were denied, but they don't really give us any detailed information as to why. So we're looking into that.
Mr.
So who's approving them?
We can't speak to you right now.
Okay.
I'm speaking to, but if Mr. Narcan has sent the council people for that district the addresses of the houses in that district that are going to be demolished, so if somebody would get along with that councilman, they call that councilman, they could find out if those addresses have been approved in that district. But I think since the last time that he sent us the 60-something, there's been more of that have been approved, and they're not finished. But what I'm understanding,
they haven't even started the actual demolition.
And what I'm understanding is that since FEMA took over, it's going to be a process because they got to go in there and check for asbestos. They got to make sure the water lines are disconnected, the gas lines. So now that FEMA's into this program, it's going to take a little while longer. But if somebody would check with that councilman,
well, I do check with my councilman. He can tell you.
They should have.
And when I checked with Mr. Carr, he didn't even know anything that was going on about the program. He said he had to call. I gave him the addresses that I was talking about, and that he said he was going to call Mr. Narcan, right? Right. And I even texted you to call him, and I told you I had spoken to Kelly around January 3rd, and she didn't really know anything. She came and talked to her supervisor and she said that they were working on it. Who's working on it?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Williams, this is another item that we should probably put on the agenda because we have a lot of, it seems like we have a lot of conversation about it, and we have 3 lights. Gentlemen, do you have a statement for Ms. Williams, or do you want to continue with this conversation, or could we just put this on the agenda for next? Can we put this on the agenda for next week, and we can go ahead and discuss it then?
I'll come back.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, but Chris does a good job, and I've spoken with him earlier, and he will be following through. I know he would.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Mr. Harding, if you would check with Mr. Narcan, he has a list of the addresses that have been approved. So if you would check with him, he probably knows which addresses are scheduled to be demolished.
Well, Mr. Guidry, my point is the system seems like it's broke because you have all these people filling out this, and you have those people that are our constituents. They keep calling us, and we actually advertising a program that's not even working, and that's where the holdup is. You know what I mean? If this lady come up here and she's saying that, and everybody else knows that in 2021 the hurricane happened. We advertising out there to those folk that we providing a service. So are we providing a service, or I don't want to use your term, Mr. Babin? Are we actually taking care of it? This lady want answers. I call people. I can't get any answers. Chris, no, we've been down this road a number of times. So we're going to provide services for the people. We want to actually provide answers if we're not providing those services. So that's where we are right there, too.
Yeah, and so can we put this on the agenda for next week, please? Thank you. Yeah, next meeting. Thank you. All right. We're going to move on to 6:30. We're not going to discuss this because we're going to put it on for next meeting.
After 8 people have already talked about it.
Yes.
Ma'am, if you're talking to Mr. Pulaski, that's the person to talk to. He knows more than anybody up here knows. You're in the right place.
He's right about that, yes. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. 6:30, public hearing.
Amazing who you stand up to.
An ordinance to enter into a built lease agreement with Tesh Action Clinic Board, INC. Item A, an ordinance to enter into a built lease agreement with Tesh Action Clinic Board, Inc. Public once, public twice, 3 times public. Motion to close, Mr. Dirk Gidry, second, Mr. Harding. All in favor? Motion to adopt, Mr. Harding, second, Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor? Motion passes. Item B, an ordinance to enter into an active exchange with Tesh Action Board, Inc. Public once, public twice, 3 times public. Motion to close, Mr. Tillman, second by Mr. Harding. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. I'm sorry, motion to adopt. Second, motion to adopt by Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. Harding. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 9368 to establish and define the Terrebonne Parish Council district boundaries and provide for other matters relative. Public once, public twice, 3 times public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close, Mr. Amity. Second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor? Any opposed?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Amity. Second, Mr. Trosclair. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed. Show one opposition. Thank you. Item D.
I vote against.
No. Item D, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 9369 to establish and define the Terrebonne Parish visible precinct boundaries and provide for other matters relative thereto. Public once, public twice, 3 times public. Motion to close by Mr. Michel, second by Mr. Amity. All in favor? Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion. We have a no by Mr. Tillman and a no by Mr. Harding. All in favor? Thank you. All right. Committee reports. Item A, Budget and Finance Committee. Mr. Harding.
Yes, I make a motion that the council accept and ratify. I make a motion to that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee and not have no public hearings.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Harding and a second by Mr. Amity. All in favor? Any opposed? Item B, Community Development and Planning Committee. Mr. Steve Trosclair.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee held on January 9th, 2023. We have 21 condemnation hearings being called on January 23rd, 2023 on the following residential, mobile home, commercial, and accessory structures. I'm just going to run down the line with all the addresses. 5129 Shrimpers Row, 3954B Greatwood Street, 608 Linda Ann Avenue, 123 Banks Avenue, 1226 Division Avenue, 316 McKinley Street, 407 Orgeron Street, 207 Maplewood Drive, 175 Jennings Lane, 1421 Balverland Street, 113 Vera Street, 107 Brunei Street, 1414 Keith Street, 6446 Shrimpers Row, 710 Greenwich Street, 712 Greenwich Street, 629 Orgeron Street, 7409 Grand Caille Road, 7139 Grand Caille Road, 8404 Main Street, 169 Go Avenue. And I have one public hearing. Introduce an ordinance authorizing the parish president to accept and enter servitude agreements, rights-of-ways, or expropriate as necessary to secure the rights necessary to accomplish the TOCG Lake Boudreaux Living Mitigation CDBG-DORLA Safe Project Phase 2 and call a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, January 25th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Mr. Trosclair and a second by Mr. Babin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee, Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes, I'll make a motion to council accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee held on January 9, 2023. And I have one public hearing. Introduce an ordinance to restructure Chapter 4, Article 26 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Nuisance Abatement, Amendment Section 14-26 to update the definition of abandoned/junk vehicles and call for a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, January 25th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Mr. Harding, a second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, streetlights. As per Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. Trosclair. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District number 5, one expiring term on January 14th, 2023, and one expired term. Mr. Kirk L. Chartenier expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Chartenier and hold the other by Mr. Trosclair, second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, Bayou Blue Fire Protection Board, one expired term. Mr. Thomas Dardar expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Thomas Dardar.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint by Mr. Michel, second by Mr. Tillman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Schriever Fire Protection District Board, two expiring terms. Mr. Phil Schexnayder expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Motion to open and close and appoint Mr. Phil Schexnayder and hold the other one open.
Second.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Schexnayder by Mr. Michel and a second by Mr. Harding. And Mr. Michel, you have a light.
I just want to let y'all know I spoke with Mr. Schexnayder. He sounded great. It was good to hear from him. They used to be a fixture at the meetings, and I miss him and miss Jeanette being here. But I'm glad that we're reappointing him to the Schriever Fire Protection Board.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item D, the Fire Protection District number 4 Board, one expired term. Mr. Roland P. Oquant expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and reappoint Mr. Roland Oquan. Second.
Open, close, and appoint by Mr. Danny Babin, second by Mr. Tillman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item E, Fire Protection number 5 Board, two expiring terms. Mr. Bernie J. Hutchinson expresses his interest in being reappointed. Open, close, and appoint Mr. Hutchinson by Mr. Trosclair, second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item F, Fire Protection District number 7 Board, one expired term. Mr. Barry Chauvin expresses his interest in being reappointed. Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Chauvin by Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item G, Fire Protection District number 10 Board, two expiring terms. Mr. Jimmy Verrett Jr. expresses an interest in being reappointed. Mr. Carol Abair Jr. expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and appoint both Mr. Jimmy Verrett Jr. and Mr. Carol Abair Jr. Second.
Motion to reappoint Mr. Verrett and Mr. Abair by Mr. Danny Babin and second by Mr. Tillman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item H, Bayou Cane Fire Protection, three expiring terms. Mr. Travis Gravois expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Timmy Jacob Rhodes expresses his interest in being reappointed. And Ms. Susan Nolfo Carlos expresses her interest in being reappointed.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Gravois, Mr. Timothy Jacob Rhodes, and Ms. Carlos.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Gravois, Mr. Rhodes, and Ms. Carlos by Mr. Michel. Do we have a second by Mr. Babin? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item I, Fire Protection District Number 8 Board, 3 expiring terms. Mr. Roosevelt Seymour expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Roosevelt Seymour and hold over the other two.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Mr. Seymour by Mr. Harding and second by Mr. Tillman. All in favor?
Hold the other two.
And hold the other two over, I'm sorry. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 7, vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District Number 1 Board, 1 expiring term. Recreation District Number 5 Board, 1 expiring term on 1/14/2023. Recreation District Number 6 Board, 1 vacancy and 1 expired term. Recreation District Number 8 Board, 1 expiring term on 2/25/25 and 1 vacancy due to resignation. Recreation District Number 10 Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Fire Protection District Number 5 Board, 1 expiring term. Fire Protection District Number 6 Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Fire Protection District Number 8 Board, 2 expiring terms. Bayou Blue Fire Protection District Board, 1 expired term. Coteau Fire Protection District Board, 2 expired terms. Schriever Fire Protection District Board, 1 expired term. Homa Terrebonne Public Trust Finance, 2 expired terms. Homa Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, 1 vacancy due to resignation, representing the Regional Military Museum. TITA, 1 vacancy and 3 expired terms. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 3 expiring terms on 2/23/23 and 3 vacancies due to resignations. Announcements. I'm sorry, we have a light. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, just a point of clarification. We got a typo on Rec District Number 8 Board. It should be 2022, 25, 22, not 25. So it's just a typo, but I just want to clarify that. Thanks.
Thank you for that. All right, announcements. Parish President, Mr. Toops, any announcements? No, ma'am. All right. Parish Council announcements. Mr. Gerald Michel.
Thank you so much for recognizing me. I really appreciate it. And I'll just remind people who are able to please go and give blood for those who need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? No. Monthly engineering reports. As per by Mr. Dirk Guidry, second by Mr. John Amity. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion adjourned by Mr. Michel, second by Mr. Amity. All in favor? Any opposed? Good night.